Okay, Walter Wofford back for the short-term rental cash flow roadmap, and we're at step number 3. And today we're going to talk about joint venturing, two or more parties going in together to buy a short-term rental, and how we can split the income and ownership up. It's a very interesting talk. And of course, my AI team, Bill and Judy, helped me put this together. Now, if you like these videos, go ahead and hit like and subscribe button, and I'll keep them coming. Walter Wofford, thank you.
So if you'd like a copy of my ebook entitled Profit Powered Hostings, How to Run a Short-Term Rental Business Using RelayFi, just pull out your camera and put it up to the QR code and enter your information, and you'll immediately receive the ebook. All right, thank you.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a deep dive into some source material you shared with us. We're exploring the surprisingly powerful world of joint venture investing, JV investing.
That's right, and our sources today, they come from excerpts of a presentation by Walter Wofford. He makes a really compelling case, actually, for why joint venturing might be a superior strategy.
Yeah.
Even if you have the capital,
Yeah.
Even if you could theoretically go it alone.
Right. So our mission here is to unpack the key insights, the surprising facts, and the critical lessons from this material. So you, the listener, can quickly grasp the potential power and also understand the important considerations of, diving into JV investing.
And the core premise Walter lays out is fascinating. Why partner if you don't have to? I mean, at first glance, it seems a bit counterintuitive, doesn't it?
It does.
But he reveals benefits that go, way beyond just accessing capital.
Okay, let's unpack that then. What are some of these benefits? What makes a JV appealing even for someone who technically has their own funds?
Well, it starts with flexibility around money. But interestingly, not just access to it. He talks about having no payments, or maybe designed payments.
Designed payments, that sounds like a game changer compared to traditional financing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the source mentioned structuring a deal where maybe you only settle up at the end of 6 months or even a year, tailored to the deal's cash flow.
Exactly. That's just not how bank loan works.
Yeah.
With its, rigid monthly schedule.
No way.
So you gain control over the financial structure itself. You can shape it to fit this specific investment, but, perhaps even more valuable than the capital itself is what he calls the transfer of knowledge, wisdom, and the benefit of the scars.
Oh, I love that phrase, the benefit of the scars. It really captures it, doesn't it? The idea that you're not just getting a partner's money, you're tapping into their experience, their lessons learned the hard way.
Yeah, exactly. They've already navigated potential pitfalls, and you get the benefit from that journey.
So you're leveraging their operational history, their expertise.
Precisely. And this leads directly to another huge advantage he highlights. Speed.
Speed of implementation. Right. He talks about the ability to fund a deal potentially in an hour. I mean, when you think about the typical timeline with banks, appraisals, inspections, loan committees, gosh, that kind of speed is incredible.
It bypasses so much red tape, and that rapid deployment of capital can absolutely mean the difference between seizing a fleeting opportunity and just watching it pass you by.
Yeah, absolutely. And okay, along with that speed and flexibility comes access to additional capital for those inevitable unexpected costs.
Oh, always. Real estate always throws curveballs, right?
Nice.
So needing an extra $5,000, $10,000 at closing for something you missed, a partner helps absorb those shocks. It doesn't derail the deal or force you to scramble. It's not just your capital at risk for every little surprise.
Which connects to another point he made. It's a private transaction.
Right. You're not beholden to the whims or the policies or, frankly, the slow bureaucracy of large financial institutions.
Yeah.
It's a direct agreement between partners.
And this private relationship structure, that also helps in minimizing risk when things inevitably, go wrong.
Yeah, Walter gave a great relatable example there. Imagine a joint venture with a partner who invested using, say, a small dollar IRA.
Okay, small dollar IRA. Just quickly, for anyone not familiar, that's a retirement account, right? And deals inside them have specific rules.
Exactly. Often limiting access to funds for unexpected expenses. And you can't personally use things like tax write-offs or depreciation.
Okay, caught it. So you have this small dollar IRA partner.
And the AC unit goes out on a big house they co-own. It's going to cost, say, $9,000 to replace both units.
Ouch.
Yeah. The IRA partner, limited by the account rules, might have real trouble covering that hit alone. But because they were in a JV, their partner helped absorb that unexpected expense. It saved the deal, saved the IRA partner's investment.
That story really drives home how sharing the burden changes the risk profile for both sides, especially for partners with maybe different financial structures or limitations.
Absolutely. And another major benefit he points out is access to deals themselves.
Leveraging a partner's deal flow. Right. If you're partnering with someone who's just really good at finding opportunities, you gain access to deals you might never have found on your own. It's like tapping into someone else's existing pipeline.
Precisely. It expands your whole universe of potential investments. And this synergy, it also builds street cred for everyone involved.
Makes sense. Doing deals with reputable, experienced partners enhances your own reputation in the market for future ventures.
And all of these capabilities combined, they allow you to do something pretty fundamental. Simply make more deals.
Yeah, he asks that question, doesn't he? If JV capabilities allowed you to do 2, 3, maybe 4 more deals this year, what's that worth to you? It really translates these abstract benefits into tangible business growth.
It does. And underlying all of this is the opportunity to build truly long-term relationships.
That feels incredibly important. He talks about finding partners you can work with over and over and over again. He even shared his own story, starting with private money back in, 1988?
Yeah.
And now dealing with the third generation of the same lending family.
Wow. Think about the efficiency, the trust, the ease of communication that comes from decades of working successfully with the same people. It just reduces friction in every single step of the process.
Totally. And let's circle back to flexibility for a second.
Right.
Beyond just payment structures, JVs can be wildly more adaptable than banks.
Oh, absolutely. His example of the $400,000 loan where the partner just said, don't pay me for 3 years. Well, it's mind-blowing.
Right. A bank would never, ever allow that.
Never. That kind of partner understanding and flexibility, it can genuinely make or break a deal's survival during lean periods.
Zero chance with a bank. That tailor-made approach seems really unique to these private relationships.
It is. And finally, he talks about the ability to segregate benefits within the JV structure.
Okay, how does that work?
Well, you can design the agreement so different partners receive the benefits that are most advantageous to them. So, for instance, if one partner needs the tax write-offs or depreciation because they hold the asset personally, but the other partner is in an IRA and can't use those.
Yeah.
You can structure the deal so the non-IRA partner gets those specific benefits while the IRA partner gets their return structured differently, maybe a preferred return.
That makes a lot of sense. So you're really able to optimize the outcome for each person involved based on their own situation, and this allows for different return structures too, like you mentioned, a preferred rate.
Yes, exactly. You can set it up so one partner gets a specific priority return before profits are split another way. It's all about designing the deal to fit the partners and the asset, rather than forcing it into a bank's rigid box.
So that's a pretty comprehensive look at why JVs are attractive, even if you think you don't need a partner for the money. But the source spends significant time on something that might sound, mundane, but is absolutely critical, the paperwork.
Yeah, and here's where it gets really interesting. And the real-world stories Walter shared, they just underscore why relying on handshakes or, casual agreements is incredibly risky.
He runs through a few scenarios that highlight the dangers, like what happens if your partner passes away?
Right. If the title is only in their name and your agreement was just verbal, how do you possibly prove your involvement, your investment, your agreed-upon split, especially to their family or the executor of their estate?
Who might have no idea about the deal.
Exactly. They might have no understanding of your deal or the real estate industry at all. It instantly becomes a nightmare situation.
Or what about simply the passage of time? You do several deals together over a couple of years.
As Walter puts it, people get confused. You confuse deals all the time. Can you honestly remember the exact terms, the exact numbers from 2 years ago?
Not likely.
Or even 2 weeks ago sometimes. Memories fade, details blur, and if it's not written down, there's just no definitive record.
And then, of course, the obvious one, disagreements.
Yeah. When things go sideways and partners start questioning contributions or interpretations of the deal, if it's not in writing, it's simply one person's word against the others. Who's right? Who's wrong? There's no objective reference point.
He makes such a powerful, maybe counterintuitive point here. The paperwork is as important for planning how to end the joint venture.
Yes.
How to evaluate asset value if you split, what happens in all those what-if scenarios, X, Y, and Z, as it is for when everything is smooth sailing.
It's not just documenting the good times. It's creating a clear roadmap and a set of rules for navigating the difficult times, the disagreements, the unexpected events.
And while the amount of paperwork in a JV might be less than with a bank loan,
The necessity of getting it in writing, even if it's just key bullet points you both sign off on, is paramount. As he stresses, you just never know when or how you're going to need that written agreement.
yeah. These cautionary tales really resonate. They hammer home the importance of that planning. Walter shared some others that vividly illustrate the potential pitfalls.
The story about dealing with a partner or private lender's death and their heirs, that's particularly eye-opening.
Yeah, recounting that true story from around 2009, the 85-year-old private lender who died, what a difficult situation that became.
He had a long-standing good relationship with the lender himself. But upon his death, suddenly she had to deal with one of the heirs who became the executor. And this executor was under immense stress dealing with, completely unrelated family squabbles, stuff totally outside of the real estate deal.
Wow. And despite the loans being current, right, and there being significant equity over $150,000 across 4 houses.
Yeah, but the executor was so overwhelmed by the family dynamics, the stress of their role, they just wanted out.
So they ended up selling those houses for just $47,500 each, walking away from all that equity.
Just because dealing with the properties tied to the family estate was too much for the executor. Their health was suffering. It's just a stark reminder that with private partners, you are exposed to their personal circumstances, their family's dynamics, people who might not understand your deal or the industry at all.
Wow. That really highlights that the human element, the personal life of your partner and their family, can directly impact your real estate deal, even if the deal itself is sound and performing perfectly.
Exactly. Then there's the story about disagreements over asset valuation and splitting when dissolving a JV.
Right. The situation with the Dallas investors splitting those 4 buy and hold houses.
Yeah, they'd built up substantial appreciation over, 2 years. The conflict arose because one partner insisted on splitting the value based on the original purchase price, completely ignoring the current market appreciation.
While the other wanted to use the current appreciated value, which makes sense.
Right. And the source describes the other partner's refusal to engage in standard, fair practices like getting a broker's price opinion, a BPO.
Which is just a professional valuation.
Yeah, or even playing a standard buy-sell offer game to establish value. It became this protracted, bitter dispute simply because their original JV agreement didn't clearly define how they would evaluate the assets or the process for splitting them if they decided to go their separate ways.
Oof. Lesson learned, right? Etched like a scar, as you said earlier.
Always spell out the dissolution process and asset valuation method up front in the paperwork.
And finally, a risk highlighted that might seem counterintuitive again. While letting a partner hold title might seem like a way to diversify risk, there's a potential downside.
Yeah, if that partner gets a personal lien against them, like, say, an IRS tax lien,
it could potentially tie up all the jointly owned deals where they hold title, even if you're a partner in good standing and the deals themselves are performing perfectly. The source gave the example of 8 deals being frozen just because of one partner's personal financial issue resulting in a lien.
These stories, they aren't just abstract warnings, are they? There are real-world consequences of inadequate planning, of relying on verbal agreements or just, assuming the best.
Which leads perfectly into a crucial comparison Walter makes, how JVs and traditional financing handle difficult situations, especially market downturns.
Yeah, how do banks typically react when a property's value drops below the loan amount?
Pretty inflexibly, generally. As the source points out, they might call the loan, demand full repayment, or at the very least refuse to renew it on the original terms. They might demand a significant principal reduction.
Right.
He used that example of a house where a $150K loan on an originally $200K property was suddenly a $150K loan on a property now worth only $100K. The bank demanded an $80,000 check just to renew the loan.
Wow. It's purely transactional, isn't it? Driven by their LTV loan-to-value requirements and policies, there's very little room for nuance or partnership.
Exactly. So in contrast, how does a JV partner, particularly a private lender you have a relationship with, how do they typically respond in that kind of market stress?
As Walter describes it, you have a conversation, you talk, You figure it out together. There's an inherent understanding usually that you are in this deal together, riding the market cycle up or down.
It's a partnership.
It's a partnership, not that rigid lender-borrower dynamic where one side just dictates terms regardless of the circumstances.
And he shared that really dramatic story from 2008 in Madison that illustrates the real-world cost of the bank's inflexibility.
Oh, yeah, the foreclosure story. A bank foreclosed on a house with a $180K current loan.
Current. Payments were being made.
Payments were current. Simply because the owner couldn't or wouldn't write an $80,000 check to lower the loan amount after the market value plummeted. The bank just enforced its LTV requirement, period.
But then the kicker, after foreclosing on this current loan, the bank discovered a leak, ended up spending $100 on repairs.
Yeah.
And ultimately lost over $200 in total on a property where the loan was current. As the source correctly points out, that massive loss was completely unnecessary.
It's such a powerful, albeit painful, case study. It just demonstrates the potential cost of a bank's rigid, policy-driven approach versus the flexibility and, frankly, common-sense problem-solving approach a JV partner is much more likely to take. Because you're jointly invested in the outcome.
Think about that fundamental security difference, right? Knowing you can actually talk to your partner, someone who understands the deal, has skin in the game alongside you when things get tough, versus facing an institution that might just apply a rule, regardless of your specific situation or the bigger picture.
It's a completely different level of relationship and problem-solving capacity.
So, okay, we've taken a look at this wide spectrum of benefits JV investing offers, far beyond just accessing capital, right? Benefits related to knowledge, speed, flexibility, building robust relationships.
And we've balanced that with the absolutely critical importance of clear written agreements, underscored by those cautionary tales of what happens when you don't plan for the difficult scenarios, death, disagreements, market downturns.
Yeah. The core message from the source comes through loud and clear. Joint venturing isn't just an alternative way to get money. It's a fundamentally different and potentially superior way to partner in deals, offering advantages that even someone with ample capital can benefit from.
It really is about leveraging knowledge, wisdom, speed, flexibility, and building those relationships that can help you navigate the inevitable ups and downs of the market.
So what does all of this mean for you listening? We've seen how joint ventures offer benefits like gaining valuable wisdom, moving with remarkable speed, and navigating unexpected problems and market shifts with a true partner by your side.
And we've heard those compelling, sometimes difficult stories that stress the absolute necessity of clear, written agreements, even, and maybe especially, when planning for the less than ideal scenarios like partner disagreements or separating assets down the road.
Which really raises an important question. Given the unique flexibility and partnership dynamic offered by JVs, especially compared to the rigid transactional nature of traditional financing, how might consciously planning for the end of a deal, right from the very beginning, change the way you approach putting deals together right now?
Yeah, definitely something for you to mull over as you consider your own investing strategies.
That's it for this deep dive. We hope these insights from the source material gave you some valuable information to chew on.